Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Yes, this particular satsang calls for utmost reverence from here to there, from there to here, and utmost focus, utmost attention beyond the realm of mind and intellect. Otherwise, not much would enter in. So let us see the sequence how Swami has brought in this last few satsang. It is his divine will and nothing else. First, we said the ocean of my creation, let it die. The ocean of my creation, small creation of my own world, let it die. In the sense, the outer vasanas about the others in the world, and the vasanas about me, myself. I am like this. Let both die. And then we evolved to understand that the yogi's BMI gets dropped like dry leaf, and he stands alone as that tree without the BMI dry leaves as Kaivalya. And now the role of BMI being over, it is lying somewhere over there, blown by the wind of Prarabdha. And when severe winds blow, the leaves flutter and the leaves hurl and the leaves move about here and there swifter than ever before. And the world thinks, wow, how fast is this person? How intense is this person working? How passionate he is about his life. So let it lie there, let it fly, let it go around there. Now, this satsang is a hymn, is a prayer, is a reference, is a glory to that tree, Kaivalya Purusha, upon his BMI falling off like a dry leaf. He has lived, existed as this, each and every essence of this four. And if he says if he says he existed, if it is 100% sincere, that existence, you will feel it today like never before. Verse 70 of chapter 18. We'll go back and forth to, to have a perfect sequence, not necessarily front only. We're going to move back from verse 70 to when we go to the next verse. Bhramabhūtamidaṃ sarvaṃ kiñcinnāstīti niścayī alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ śuddhaḥ svabhāvenaiva śāmyati. This alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ, three expressions are there in these three verses. These three expressions, Chinmaya explains that these first ever observed by the world of mumukshus only in Ashtavakra Gita. Thereafter, many treatises got these expressions from Ashtavakra. Alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ. What is this? Brahmabhūtam, the pure one, knows with certitude that this universe is a product of illusion, kiñcinnāstīti niścayī, and that nothing really exists. Alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ, imperceptible self, is revealed to him, and he naturally becomes tranquil. We will pick up two expressions from this, Brahmabhūtam and alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ. We will leave the illusion, those are all now kindergarten level. There is no illusion for him, no need to say after his BMI has dropped like dry leaf. The pure one knows the imperceptible self. Okay, the Brahmabhūtam alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ. Sphurana means illumination, illumining. Let us see what is this pure, who is this pure one, and how he knows this imperceptible self. The pure one who knows. The focus is on the knowing part. Who knows and what he knows and what is the knowing. Ashtavakra does not mean that a realized seer has known this self like any other object is known by a person. The person being the subject and the object being known. Absolute consciousness is the subject and it can never be an object. To remove any ambiguity, the expression, the imperceptible self, has been given by Ashtavakra in this. He knows not the self, he knows the imperceptible self. And when this adjective expression imperceptible is added to the self, it becomes subject. It no more remains the object. How we will see. Imperceptible or imperceptible self can also be called the imperishable self, as all the perceivable objects are perishable. Whatever you can perceive, they are bound to perish. Here, imperceptible, you cannot perceive it, so it is imperishable. In fact, after the translation, Chinmaya never even touches the imperceptible. He goes ahead only with the imperishable self expression. Not perceivable as an object. Any perceivable object is perishable. You take any perceivable object from the sun, star, moon, sky to this, even they perish in the pralaya. Okay, imperceivable has to be necessarily imperishable. Imperishable self. Now we will go to a practical analogy and come back to this imperishable self. In two trains in a platform, suppose one is moving and one has stopped. For the child who peeps through the window of this train which has stopped, it will appear to it as though this train is moving, not that train. The stopped train is moving, it will appear to it. Only when both trains are at halt, full halt, the child peeping through the window with the chocolate in its hand can have no confusion. It cannot neither think that the other train is moving, nor it can think that this train is moving. Okay. Why Acharya is telling this? Because if I remain as an object and I try to perceive this imperceptible self, I cannot perceive it as imperishable. I am perishable. I am trying to trying to know about this self as an object. It is perishable in the sense that after nididhyasana time is over, I can no more perceive or experience that self. To that extent, that self is also perishable because I was trying to gather about this self as perishable, as an object. Like I have known so many things in my life, I have no knowledge of A, B, C, D, X, Y, Z, double A, triple A, quadruple D, like that. So many knowledge, useless scrap knowledge I have gathered. Like that, intellectually, if I am going to gather about this self, then I will be an ignorant, like the child thinking that my train is moving. Okay. For knowing or experiencing the imperishable self, I should also exist as imperishable self. That means the subject-object duality is gone. The difference between the meditator and the object of meditation is gone. Imperishable. Meditator is equal to imperishable. Self is equal to imperishable. Eliminate the common factors. Meditator is equal to the self. So the knowing is not like knowing any other thing. The knower has merged with the known, and there is no duality in this. Needless to say, there can be no illusion. And if you can reach to this state in at least in your deep silence in your meditation, then only now you can intellectually understand, but only when you reach to this subject, cessation of the duality between the subject and the object, then only for a few minutes or few hours, you can actually experience what tranquility is all about. Ashtavakra writes. He says he naturally exists in a tranquil state. He naturally ever exists in the tranquil state. Watch him and know what is tranquility is. मानो कि संसार ठहर गया, कायनात थम गया, रुक गया. Nothing is moving. It is that level of tranquility. Your tranquility will get disturbed if you see any movement in the creation. Now we move on to the next. The main verse is this in today's. The essence is this. The prefix and suffix, the earlier and the next verse are adoration to this. Or you may also say these two verses are worship, adoration to the last verse. Either way. It is actually becoming difficult today for him to express because he is going to explain or he is going to express all about changeless self. And yesterday, having existed whole day in that changeless self, at night before the eyes closed and he slept, he wondered, in this my state of changeless self, how do I ever bring about even that expression of changeless? My trying to express this state as changeless is also a change in the changeless self. How do I express? How do I pour tomorrow on this changeless self? With that smile, he slept yesterday. That is why to core few sadhakas, another verse was explained. The Jivan Mukta is a master idler. Even winking of his eyes as though is a disturbance to that changeless self. Even expressing the changeless expression is a disturbance to the changeless self. Even saying this is a disturbance to the changeless self. Even saying I will be silent is a disturbance to the changeless self. Still, the Guru Shishya Parampara has to move on. This has to be poured the divine intuition. He will try to blabber something today. It is not like any other session when at least during the 1 hour he takes the role of the Guru and he is clear about his Guru's role, his dharma of imparting knowledge to the disciple. He is not able to come down to the level of that Guru. Swami has to help today. Really, Swami has to take up this role of imparting whatever is to be imparted through this instrument. He is unfit today to pour anything. Really, really, he says he cannot say. क्व संसार क्व च आभास क्व साध्यम क्व च साधनम अक्षस्य एव धीरस्य. Sorry, he told you na he is going to blabber today. He is not able to focus. ākāśasyeva ākāśasya eva dhīrasya nirvikalpasya sarvadā. Nirvikalpasya sarvadā is first ever time brought in this verse. Kwa samsāra kwa cha ābhāsa kwa sādhyaṃ means end. Kwa cha sādhanam means sādhyaṃ, sādhanam. Ākāśasya exists at infinite ākāśa. Eva dhīrasya nirvikalpasya sarvadā. This verse immersed in his state or the state immersed in the verse, impact was the same yesterday. And he went around for a couple of things. He did 2-3 mundane tasks. He traveled, he came back. The world thought that the leaves blown by prarabdha are intensely working. But how does the world know what is inside? Where is the world, samsāraḥ? Where is its appearance? In fact, for the first time ever, Chinmaya, for translating आभास, आभास किसी का आभास होना हिंदी में, उस चीज सामने एक वस्तु है, उस वस्तु का आभास होना means appearance. He has up to this level, 18th chapter, if a mumukshu can reach, Chinmaya is convinced that he can take this loftiest translation. So he has totally done away, left that appearance translation. He has actually translated abhasa as ego. He says, where is the world? Where is ego? He has replaced abhasa, appearance, with ego. That means appearance is ego. Most absorbing, we will see. Where is the end? And where are the means? Where is the end? Sādhyaṃ. Where are the means? Sādhanam. Who is ever changeless, nirvikalpasya. The core essence of this verse, which will be taken up, will be changeless. Like the ākāśasyeva dhīrasya. Like the infinite universal space. And there is a purpose for bringing the universal space here. Why? How? We will see to our utter amazement, to our utter ecstatic inner experience, to dance without legs. Fear. Ever changeless, nirvikalpasya sarvadā. Any change from the absolute state is equal to any change from the absolute state is equal to a disturbance in the state of absolute consciousness. A yogi exists as changeless self, as nirvikalpa sarvada, with no disturbance in the state of pure self. These are all some of the expressions, finite expressions he jotted down from the inner state. When you listen again and again, those who have been very close to him, you will realize that these are all the original expressions of his state as we have observed him over the years. Sitting outside the temple with the morning breeze flowing and the cuckoo birds cuckoo, cuckoo, chirping. How does he exist? No creation, no jagat, no him, no jiva, no Krishna, no Ishvara, no temple, no thoughts, just pure awareness. Awareness is pure as he, the jiva, is not aware of it as something outside him. He verily exists as that awareness. If he ever became aware of that awareness, the prefix pure will go from there, because if you are aware of the awareness, you are seeing that awareness as an object. Object is always impure. Pure awareness means cessation of the awareness and existing as pure awareness. Pure is an expression pregnant with immense depth here. Suppose he exists thus for 30 minutes. Suppose. In those 30 minutes, it is changeless state. Because why he's saying changeless? Because there is not an iota of disturbance caused to that purity of that awareness. Transcending the awareness of the awareness, the purity of the awareness. The purity of the awareness, first ever time he is expressing, because these are all from the inner state. You call it purity of the awareness, purity of the existence, purity of the consciousness. He has never told you purity of consciousness. You feel it, you feel it. What is it? If you ask him about that state in those 30 minutes, after getting up, after 15 minutes, 45th minute, if you ask Acharya, was it pure existence? Was it Satchitananda state? Was it the Satyam Jnanam Anantam state? Was it that pure canvas state? Was it that? Was it that? You relate to all these sessions and ask him intellectually. He will keep on nodding, but inside he will not be satisfied with any of those expressions because that purity of that awareness, changeless state, changeless state is beyond all expressions of scriptures because all these scriptures, Upanishads, are but limited by the expression of Sanskrita language used. Whereas this purity of this changeless state is beyond. Not even for a moment he can afford to come down from the changeless self state. Even if he had come down for 1 minute, then that changelessness is gone. When the changelessness is gone, the imperishable is gone. The imperceptible is gone. All the expressions in all the Upanishads to define, to describe the Tatastha Swarupa Lakshana of that self, all are gone. If the changelessness is disturbed for a fraction of a minute. At BMI level, it is impossible in the changeless state to perceive anything which is happening in the creation or even to that BMI which is lying somewhere there as a dry leaf, prepared to take off when the wind of Prarabdha blows. Once he perceives anything, it is impossible not to experience duality. And duality means agitation. Duality means restlessness. Duality means pain. If abiding in that changeless state, he cannot move from that changeless state. He cannot perceive the creation. Some expressions may sound to be getting repeated. He is helpless because the inner changeless state somehow brought in a little change for the purpose of the Guru Shishya Parampara, and it blabbered something which was noted down. Maybe repetition. Enjoy that repetition as much as you enjoy his state. Enjoy. He cannot have a disturbance in the changeless state and experience any of these things in his case. The humiliations faced from the country where he came here, not getting a job, in spite of those dry leaves moving here and there and searching everywhere, the ongoing health issues, the uncertainty about the future, any issues at family level without exaggerating, without explaining, drastic change in the quality of the at material life, financial planning tight, the choice for a vehicle, the choice for house, the choice for change. If you observe humiliations at mind level, no luck at job at mind level, health issues at body level, uncertainty at future mind level, family level, mind level, drastic change in the quality at body and mind level, financial planning at intellectual level, the choice of car, house, etc. at the mind and the intellectual level, the analysis of the options are at intellectual level. Like this, if you list down any disturbance caused to you in the last 24 hours, since you may not be at the changeless state, so you may note down all your thoughts in the 24 hours, except the nididhyasana, except those moments when you are listening to the poor, or except when you are meditating, or except when you are singing bhajans from the innermost heart. All other things, they will all be at the body mind or the mind level or the intellectual or the combination of two of them. When BM is at play, intellect will be lying low. When the intellectual is at play, the mind will be lying low. When the B will be at play, only mind will be at low. Intellectual will not be there at all. He has given through his practical examples. All these incidents, all these issues, everything, as he was telling the other sadhaka the other day, needless to say, explain, needless to list down and think about each incident. Give one stroke and it is not buy one and get one free, buy one and get all free here. With one expressions, all the issues get covered inside that one expression, and that one expression is prarabdha. Anything happening to you except your spiritual endeavor, spiritual purushartha for spiritual evolvement, anything and our nitya karma, leave alone these two things. A to Z is prarabdha. You are breathing due to prarabdha. You are living this useless life due to prarabdha. You are moving here and there due to prarabdha. Everything. So you can leave alone the issues and conclude with one expression, prarabdha. And what is that prarabdha? The wind which is blowing, which is dictating terms to this dry leaves. And the tree Kaivalya Purusha has nothing whatsoever. Even with his BMI acting, he has. How it is possible? Again, it boils down to the same expression. It is possible that his own BMI acting also he is not aware of it, provided he exists in that changeless state. Otherwise, he will be lying if he says that. Anyone will be lying. It will be a blatant lie if one says that, yes, Guruji, my BMI has dropped like a dry leaf as per your instruction. Are you existing changeless? 24 and a half, not even 24, not one second, 1 minute, maybe a confusion in the time. No discount factor allowed. 24 and a half by 7.5 by 366. Are you existing changeless? Then only you are qualified to say that yes, my own BMI has dropped like a dry leaf. Otherwise, not. Don't utter those very, very in-depth expression of the BMI getting dropped like dry leaf. It's not a joke. When your BMI is acting and you are here and you are for births and births and births, you are used to identifying with your body. When somebody asks you who are you, you are telling them that I am Satyamurti. When I telling Satyamurti, I don't mean unchangeless consciousness. I mean this body only. Having identified so much with the body, this own BMI and its action getting dropped like a dry leaf, and you have no concern as a tree with that, it's not a joke. Existing as changeless state is not to be taken lightly and not to be expressed loosely. Now coming to Abhasa, for the one who has not realized, as he told the Abhasa, he has not even taken expression of appearance. What is the translation? Literal translation by Chinmaya. Where is the world and where is its ego for Abhasa? Within brackets, he has included appearance for your clarity. Where is its ego? What does it mean? This is also being given to you for the first time. Abhasa is appearance. This appearance of creation in his mind, for the one who has not realized, is caused due to ego. Any appearance, when one comes down from that changeless self state and there is a ray of disturbance, then it is abhasa, it is ego. So abhasa is not appearance, abhasa is ego. One crude example, this can be given only to you because at the loftiest level, he has no abhasa, so he cannot express. And if I give again, he gives at a loftier level, you may not be able to relate. You are seated in your prayer or whatever, neutral state. Somebody, your child, your husband, your mother-in-law, your father-in-law, ex-wife, servant comes and keeps. Servant may not nag you. He has no audacity to nag you. One of these people are nagging you, keeping on asking you something. Keeping on asking you to do something, and they are watching that you are already doing that thing. It happened with him, so he is telling, don't go. He is doing something and they are nagging you, do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Their appearance is abhas, unka abhas hona. And you are getting irritated by their nagging is also abhasa, is ego. Because you replace your family members with some stranger, some side devotee, someone, coordinate, some good side devotee. about whom again you don't have any vasanas impressions as you have with your family members, because when your family members nag you, you have created an impression that these are they are they must have been nagging in their 100 previous births. So that impression vasana is set in ego. So their abhasa is nothing but your ego. Abhasa is equal to ego. Whereas a stranger about whom you don't have any impression, even if he tells you 4 5 times to do it, you will politely, humbly, lovingly tell him, yes, Sairam, I'm doing it. Yeah, I will do it. Don't worry. There is no ego in this. So the drive home lesson is that mere abhasa is not ego. Abhasa, appearance, aligning with your vasanas is equal to ego. Abhasa plus vasana is equal to ego. Right? In the case of Jiva, world comes to him, world's perception colored with vasana comes to him. Vasanas feed the mind with desire, attachment, aversion, etc. For a Jivan Mukta, also Abhasa is there, appearance is there, but that appearance is not ego, because that appearance is utterly important for him, because it fails to giggle any senses in him, to disturb any senses in him. So, n number of abhasa cannot be ego because they cannot touch his senses. Leave alone vasanas, leave alone other things. It cannot even touch his physical organ also, senses also. Put him into an extrovert gathering, a picnic, where dances are going on, songs are going on, gossips are going on, useless jokes are going on, comedy is going on, games are going on, tambola is going on, all those things are going on. Or his famous, often quoted expression, put him in a prostitute street, put him in a world of extrovert. He sees, he hears, he smells, he eats whatever offered in that gathering, and yet remains changeless. Nothing gets carried to his senses. There is a verse of this smelling, eating, touching, sleeping, etc. And there, the secret, Chinmaya says, the secret is how he also sleeps, eats, smells, touches, hears. Still, he does not smell, eat, hear in the sense others smell, eat, hear, etc. Because that those offering for his eyes, ears, hands, mouth, eat, all those offerings are utterly important to giggle, to bring about that sense perception in him. It is like in another words, Chinmaya says, in Hindi we call it as karma, urvalam. or procession. Villages are standing, and on the outer skirts, nowadays you call it as expressway, outer skirts of the village, one procession is marching, going, passing through. These villages know nobody in that procession. What will be the state of the villagers if you can imagine? They will just stand there and see the procession go through. Can there be any impact of their eyes seeing any one of those in the procession? Can there be any serious impact on whatever the ears hear of whatever talks going on in the procession? Will there will they ever develop a sudden made for each other love for any damsel walking in that procession suddenly in a second, that I will die without you? Nothing happens. A Jivan Mukta, or a wise man of wisdom, as Ashtavakra says, is as ignorant or as innocent as that villager, who has got nothing to do with the drama of this creation flow passing through him, which he sees, hears, touches, smells, eats, yet nothing happens. The procession was not there, the procession is here, the procession is gone. He is the changeless tree, Kaivalya Purusha. Changeless, 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 changeless. For him, what means sādhanam, and where is the sādhyaṃ, goal for self-realization? Where are they? The ladder has been discarded after climbing the top. All the paraphernalia, all the apparatus carried for a river rafting in Rishikesh have been dropped after the river rafting is over. You don't hold on to that forever. The sādhyaṃ is gone, the sādhanam is gone. And there is a very pregnant, very in-depth meaning expression why the eternal poet Ashtavakra brought this ākāśasyeva here. He exists as the infinite space wide. You remember the expressions for absolute consciousness and reflected consciousness, chidākāśa and chidbhāsa. From that, remove the common chid there. Here is the akāśa, here is the ābhāsa. The wise one, the man of wisdom, the man of wisdom, the Jivan Mukta, the yogi who has no abhasa, exists as the akāśa. The poet in Ashtavakra finds its culmination in so many expressions like this. So, not one or two. He is not less than Shankara, or Shankara must have been internally inspired by Ashtavakra, even without reading Ashtavakra Gita. Both are greatest poets the Advaita Vedanta has ever experienced. The abhasa is gone, So the akāśa remains. Why infinite space? Exactly like he smells, hears, he sees, eats, and yet he is not associated, he is changeless. Exactly in the space, all the filthy, all the dirtiest things in the creation exists. Yet they require the space for them for their mere existence, since still the space is untouched by any of them. In that essence, the space existence and the Jivan Mukta existence. He doesn't exist as, don't limit to existing as space. The space existence and the Jivan Mukta existence are comparable. Leave alone the duality of means, plurality of the sadhanam and sādhyaṃ. He cannot even comprehend the duality of joy, sorrow, pain, and pleasure, recognition and humiliation. He cannot recognize. He is far beyond all these dvandas, all these dualities. Chinmaya ends this commentary. Most of whatever has been given, 99% are not Chinmaya's expressions, because, as he said, these are all blabbering of his that state, actually blabbering. If it makes sense to you, well, good. He doesn't know what he expressed. He doesn't know what he wrote, what he jotted down. Unlike other sessions where he is aware, because he has come down, he knows his role, he knows the importance of the session, he knows the importance of each expression, so he spends too much time in formation of a session. Here it was yesterday that this is the noted down. No guru is there at all, not able to come down from that changeless state. He is told in one experience, he is not able to say changeless also. That changeless is a disturbance to that changeless. That changeless saying is a disturbance to Chinmaya's expression. The space in part has merged with the infinite space. The wave has merged with the ocean. The mud part has crushed and has become the mud. The dreamer has been awakened. The liberated in life is the supreme self in action. Manhood has ended in sheer godhood. Concluding verse of today. Sajayati arthasaṃnyāsī pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ akṛtrimo'navacchinne samādhiryasya vartate. In the first verse, alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ was the first expression. In the second verse, nirvikalpasya sarvadā is the first ever expression. And in this verse, concluding verse of today's satsang, pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ is the first expression, first ever to have come into the world of sadhakas. Embodiment of bliss, which is his real nature. pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ. Sa jayati, cry out to him. Hallelujah means Jai Ho, victory, victory, Jai. Niranjana Vijayi Bhava. Vijayi, यहाँ विजयी तो हो गया, finished. Jai, Jai, Hallelujah. Jai, Jai, Jai Jaykar to him who has renounced all desires, who is the embodiment of perfect bliss, which is his own real svabhāva, real nature, and who is spontaneously absorbed in the unlimited space. Or you can say, as the unlimited space, or even more, as Acharya, the unlimited space is absorbed in him. As though after blabbering 18, first chapter was blabbered by Janaka, and in between also Janaka keeps telling something. Most of the 17 chapters not blabbering. Now he was blabbering. Ashtavakra cannot blabber. After citing, after explaining through finite words, and time and again telling, he in many verses telling that I cannot describe. What do I say? Everything has been told. Nothing more can be said. Now he has gone emotional. Ashtavakra has become a bhakta, true bhakta, to the one who has realized self. You can say he has become a bhakta of himself, not the BMI. BMI is drop like dry leaf. He has become a bhakta. That is, say, the emotions are arising in the man of wisdom. As purest, highest intellect will be there, emotion will not be. He's crying out hallelujah. So he has become a pure devotee. Ramana defines devotee as that only one who is totally devoted to self is the true bhakta. He has become a devotee to the self godhood that he exists verily as, with no trace of the body, mind, intellect, and he is crying out to the world of the Jivan Muktas, Avadhutas, Videha Muktas, Yogis. Jai, Jai, Jai. He has become emotional now, Bhakta, and he is crying out, like singing bhajan to the glory of those Jivan, himself being one of them. He says, Jai Ho, Jai, Jai, Bolo, Jai Jaykar, Bolo, Jai Jaykar, Bolo, Jai Jaykar, Jivan Muktaki. You remember the Samarpan Bhajan? Bolo, Jai Jaykar, Bolo, Jai Jaykar, Bolo, Jai Jaykar, Sai Baba ki. He has forgotten singing totally. The organ has not been opened. No place to keep that. Where he will get an environment where he can hold on to a bhaja and sing few bhajans. Not being able to sing the bhajan now is also the prarabdha of those that useless dry leaf that he exists as, blown by the prarabdha of not being able to sing with the glory of Sai. Never undermine bhajan singing devotees. Most sacred, most glorious opportunity given to you to cry out Hallelujah to Swami Jai. He cannot believe that he taught so many bhajans. Cannot believe, as though he has never sung at all. Because the Shruti factor itself is not there, and he is the one who can never sing without Shruti. Impossible. Coming back, Bhakta, he has become emotional, as though Ashtavakra is crying emotional and becomes a Jai, Jai, Jai to him, to what? To that changeless, imperceptible, imperishable, changeless, nirvikalpasya sarvadā, changeless self, Jai to that changeless self, which is pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ, which is embodiment of bliss, where bliss is not separate from him as a object of experience, bliss as the very state. So he has given a necklace to a naked man. He has given a adjective, he has given a lakshana, bliss to the otherwise natureless, qualityless, nirguna, nirakara, changeless self. Here, because he is emotion, so he has to adorn the changeless self with some object. So he is searching. He has given that abhushanam, that necklace of what? pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ, embodiment of bliss, which is its near real nature. Aspirant meditating on self with the blissful absolute state is now the embodiment of bliss itself. Aspiring for bliss is now bliss, rather source from where each being in the entire creation gets little tiny droplets of what you call as ananda, bliss. A salt merged in water can no more be separated and collected as the original salt prior to its merging in the ocean. The aspirant upon existing as pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ can no more be separated from that bliss to exist as aspirant again. That is why na sādhyaṃ and neither sādhyaṃ nor sādhanam. He cannot be an aspirant again. He cannot meditate on Brahman. Brahman cannot meditate on Brahman. Brahman cannot sing bhajans on Brahman. He exists as the embodiment of bliss, which is being its name, and exists as infinite space. ākāśasyeva. Desire to breathe or desire to live can only disturb the changeless or immutable or imperceptible or imperishable samadhi state of such a Maha Purusha. Hallelujah to him. Whereas we began with the expression that the sage is desireless, desire to breathe. Go back to the last scene of the guide when the Atman character blames, expresses to the Jiva that ab kisi cheez ki chahat nahi. Na insan, na bhagwan, na admi. Beautiful dialogue goes on there. And the Jiva struggling to live, he asks, जीने की इच्छा, जीने की इच्छा तो हो. He says, तुम आत्मन हो जो सदैव अमर है. तुम इस जीव या इस ये शरीर हो ही नहीं जिसकी इच्छा तुम कर रहे हैं. You have never been this BMI dry leaf for whom you are crying that कम से कम जीने की, जिंदगी की इच्छा, कम से कम जीने की इच्छा, सांस लेने की इच्छा तो. He says, forget it. You are never that. Tat tvam asi. You are always not a Brahman. Your consciousness. So the absorption flow goes like this: alakṣyasphuraṇaḥ, imperceptible self, and this imperceptible self has to be changeless, nirvikalpasya sarvadā. And the sage gets emotional and he says, not emotional, that sense, how does he explain? How does he explain that the Ashtavakra wants to adorn something to that self, that that changeless self, in the confidence that with the horizon of this Guru Shishya Param, or even listening to the sessions I've got limited to 5 or 10, he dares to reveal today what was revealed only to 2 or 3 or 4 till now. The urge of Ashtavakra to give something to Janaka and something to the state of that changeless self, and he fulfills that emotions by crying out hallelujah, jai jai. What is that feelingless feeling, emotionless emotion, expressionless expression? It is exactly the expression of Ma Amritanandamayi when Acharya sat with her for half an hour, 45 minutes, and after the language in silence, communication in sheer silence was over, 45 minutes long, the communication ended in that infinite bliss, which is pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ, which is the inherent state of Amma, which is the inherent state of Acharya. That expression of Amma when she told in Malayalam and wanted that bearded next deputy sannyasi, he doesn't remember his name, to translate to him, whereas he understood Malayalam. He says, she expressed something like that: Amma's agraham, Amma's longing, Amma's wish is to give you something, but this poor Amma doesn't have anything to give. And looking back, she picks up a tasiman of 108 beads, and he it is not one to be adorned on. It's very short. So I want to give you something. I want to give you something. So she blesses the Blessings, blessed, the blessed by blessing his hands with that blessed Talsiman. Exactly, that is the expression, the concluding expression of Ashtavakra, where don't call it emotion, don't call it. Amma also used the limited expression of agraham, longing only, but it was something more than that, which Amma only could understand and Acharya only could understand. Magane, she told, she told in Malayalam that I am poor, I don't have anything to give you. But something she told, but that Agraham expression was caught by Acharya because both of them could feel the breath of each other so close. This what all other things she expressed is obviously not to be shared at all. Otherwise, the sanctity of that expression will be lost. That is the state of Ashtavakra when he says, I will, like the Talsiman, like that beads, I will now, I can't help describing you, I cannot help adorning you with a garland of pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ, embodiment of bliss. So he brought in a limited nature here, bliss to the otherwise natureless, qualityless, changeless self. Just like in the peak of jnana, in the peak of samadhi state, sometimes the bhakti rasa flows, the tears roll, and Swami comes in front of him. Mystically, mysteriously, sometimes he's revealing to even the epitome, even the climax of samadhi can express its some madhyam it is required. It expresses itself in the tearful emotional bhakti rasa. This bhakti rasa is the expression of Ashtavakra when he says, I let me adorn you with that pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ, limited expression of bliss, embodiment of bliss. Here, when in that exalted moment, Acharya could not adorn, not himself. Himself, always there will be a confusion mixed with the body mind intellect, a body, a physics. He could not adorn that changeless self with any other lakshana. He could only end the song of self with I am, I, silence. Another helpless expression of Ashtavakra. With one line, we will end today's not satsang. You call what you call, you want to call it as anything or satsang or discourse. It is all blabbering of a seer who is not in the physical frame at all. If you have the power, then catch that state. Hmm. So after the imperceptible self to the changeless self to the pūrṇasvarasavigrahaḥ, to all and existing as infinite space. Again, space means now the infinite space means changeless. This changeless expression should never leave you until the time of your realization, this birth or any birth henceforth. Changeless is means not an iota, not a moment, not a fraction of a second of disturbance caused due to anything in this creation. Though you are seeing, eating, smelling, abhasa is there without vasana. Changeless. Okay, leave this description, what he was going to give, skip. It is very normal. He will end with another expression. The sage is described by Ashtavakra in his beautiful, wonderful, unimaginable, poetic genius. Ashtavakra actually describes the state of that seer, that Jivan Mukta. It does not give an adjective as nectarine. He he says this Jivan Mukta is Amritam, nectar, not nectarine, not adjective. Amritam. He says he is Amritam. How Amritam? Amritam is what? Immortal. And what is birth? Chinmaya explains beautifully. Prostrations to Chinmaya. 1,000 prostrations to Chinmaya. A realized master can explain like this. Nobody else. He says, what is immortality? Immortality is deathlessness. And what is death? He says, death is a change from your previous state of existence as birth, you change to death. And again, you change to the next birth. Again, you change to the death. So he says that death is a change in your state of existence. So, Amritam or immortality means changeless. Amritam Amritam Gamaya. Mrityu, he says Mrityu is a state of change only. Birth to death is a change. Death to birth is a rebirth is a change. Rebirth to next death is a change. When this change, Mritam, this change, death is over, then there is deathlessness. So when the change is transcended, what it has to be? It has to be changeless. So the changeless sage is Amritam, immortal. Jai, 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 God, Jai. Let the mountains there in Muscat hear the echo. Let the entire globe hear the echo of Hallelujah, Jai to Bhagavan Sri Satya Sai Baba. Jai to that state of changeless nirvikalpasya sarvadā, changeless, 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 changeless. How this poor emerged today will ever and ever and ever remain as a mystery to himself, where he could not even express or he could not even enjoy in his loneliness, aloneness, he could not even enjoy the expression changeless because from that silence, spoken silence, that hey you, when you say changeless, you are disturbing that changeless. How that changeless poured, the changeless pour today will always remain as much a mystery as how he willed to create this creation. For both this mystery, there can never be any answers in any yoga. पतित पावना हे घनश्यामा परमानंदा हे घनश्यामा प्रेम भगवान साई भगवान प्रेम भगवान साई भगवान बोलो साई राम बोलो साई राम बोलो जय जयकार बोलो जय जयकार बोलो जय जयकार साईं बाबा की फिर बोलो जय जयकार जीवन मुक्त की हरि ओम पर 4 participants it is shown. That is only 4 of you. Anybody else is attending? Don't know. जो समझे उसका भला हो, जो ना समझे उसका भी भला हो. My friend used to say this. Don't think anybody else except before sadhakas are attended to. क्यों ना हो? It will be difficult for anyone to get into depth. Sai Ram.